Atlas Mara, the Sub-Saharan African Financial Services Group, has agreed to acquire an additional 280.9 million shares of Union Bank of Nigeria PLC. This is approximately a 1.0% shareholding in Union Bank, following which its combined direct and indirect shareholding in UBN will increase to 49% from 48%. The company will issue 2.360 million ordinary shares as consideration for the UBN shares acquired. Applications have been made for the new shares to be admitted to the official list of the UK Listing Authority and to trade on the London Stock Exchange. Admission is expected to become effective and dealings on the new shares are expected to commence on the 27th of June 2018. The new shares will rank pari passu with the existing ordinary shares. And Old Mutual PLC is listing its African Financial Services unit in Johannesburg today, returning to its roots as a South African-based financial services group and largely wrapping up a radical breakup plan. The 173-year-old company has been breaking itself up to disentangle its costly conglomerate structure stemming from disjointed acquisitions from 1999 when it moved its headquarters and primary listing to London. Chief Executive Bruce Hemphill set the carve-up in motion in 2016, saying the company's four main businesses, a U.S. asset manager, a British wealth manager, an African financial services unit, and a South African bank, would achieve higher investor ratings as independent, separate entities. Old Mutual, which traces its roots to mid-19th century South Africa as the country's first mutual aid society by 166 members, has already sold its U.S. asset management business and on Monday separately listed its UK wealth arm renamed Gilta. And let's talk commodities now. And Nigeria is ranked the 16th country on the global tomato production scale and the largest producer in sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria also provides about 2% of total world tomato production. Still, the country does not get about 45% of the tomato due to the poor food supply chain. Every year, Nigeria loses about 750,000 tons of tomatoes due to the bad food supply chain. Now, this commodity is mostly produced from the northern part of Nigeria. Let's look at some of the challenges in production of this commodity, and I'm being joined by one of the research analysts with financial derivatives company, Pamela Bassi-Duke. Hello, Pamela. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Pamela. All right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Now, Nigeria is the largest producer of tomato in sub-Saharan Africa, producing approximately 2.24 metric tons of tomato, which represents about 1.3% of total global output. What are the challenges of tomato farming and the prospects for increased tomato production in Nigeria?
Yeah, I feel that right this is the largest producer SSA, and then not produce 100% of total production. However, despite this, since Nigeria is the best producer of tomato products after Iraq and Japan, while to meet up the demand gap, approximately 160,000 tons. So the major challenge of tomato farming in Nigeria really is post-harvest loss, which is caused by poor supply chain in the system. So as you rightly said, Nigeria loses about 5% of production, which is literally 750,000 tons per annum, which is due to this poor value chain system. So let's break down this value chain system. What do I mean? So number one, the first thing is there's a poor storage, inadequate storage facilities and poor preservation methods. The second would be distribution challenges such as poor transportation networks and poor access to markets. We see that tomatoes are transported in instead of, and once it reaches the final destination, and we see that there's a lot of wastage caused by this as this baskets press down other baskets. And then we also see that there's a poor marketing system in place as well, and there's due to price instability, as we know that tomato is a seasonal product, and then there's this poor packaging systems as well. Other challenges include high cost of production inputs, inadequate supply of good quality seeds. There's also the problem of pest disease and pest management. So there's poor disease and pest management. We saw that happen in 2016 when there was a pest, that's the tuta absoluta, that ravaged up tomato farms in Nigeria. Approximately 5 states experienced that. So there is the prospect for tomato production to increase in Nigeria as long as we can battle these challenges in the value chain. And then we've also seen that the government investing in railway facilities, that we will see that transportation should pick up, and so we'd have no issues with that tomato.
Now, we've had issue of herdsmen violence, which has intensified in northern states such as Bauchi and Taraba, where tomato is mostly grown. I've seen the price of a 50 kg basket of tomato currently at 15,000 naira from a low of 8,000 naira at the start of the year. Now, is this responsible for the 88% surge we've seen in prices?
Yes, definitely, it's responsible for that, because we know that 80% of Nigeria's production comes from the northern states, and that we've seen that this insecurity has displaced farmers, so which has led to the shortage of scarcity of tomatoes in Nigeria. But that's not the only factor. We have other factors. We've seen that the Ramadan fast was also a factor. We saw that during that the fasting period, most farmers did not move to. That's when motivated to bring this product into other states. And then there's also the increase in transportation costs. We saw that in May, diesel prices increased by approximately 4.91% year on year to 205 per litre. And then we saw that states that highest increase in Gombe and Taraba, producing states in tomato.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Pamela. Pamela Basiduke is one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company. And finally on the program, Ghana's state-owned oil refinery is seeking credit guarantees from the government to restart crude oil processing into petrol products. The refinery, located in Accra, the country's capital, stopped production last week after running out of crude stock. The refinery is facing rejections from lenders who refuse to issue loans for crude purchases to keep the facility running. The Tema refinery is therefore asking the Akufo-Addo government for $70 million in credit guarantees, but an agreement is yet to be reached. The funding shortage is the latest setback for the refinery, which has been operating at about 2/3 of its capacity after a furnace explosion in January 2017. And that's it on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago.